In this video, I want to talk to you about what I think are the top 5 rod and reel combos that you need as a bass fisherman. Over the last couple of weeks, I've looked at a lot of the footage that I have filmed over the years. And every time I saw a specific rod and reel combo, I made a little tally mark and basically just added them up. And I have 5 rod and reels here next to me that I use about 90% of the time that I'm out there bass fishing. And the cool thing is that you can do almost every single technique with one of these rod and reels that I'm about to show you. So we're gonna go through them, and of course, I'm gonna save my very favorite for last. So stay tuned, it's gonna be a good one. I have a pretty cool deal going on for the month of March over at my apparel business, Fin Fishing. Anyone who buys a USA made sun shirt, which are one of the only sun shirts made in the US, or a pair of the new duck shorts, which are a lightweight, water resistant, highly durable pair of shorts, is going to receive a free Buzzer Rocks Blood Stop formula. This specific formula is made that when you catch a fish, it's hooked deep or hooked wrong and that fish is bleeding a lot, you can take out this little canister, spray it on that fish, and it is going to stop the bleeding, unlike what I've used a lot in the past, which is Mountain Dew. This is a really cool product. It's a really unique product, and right now it is completely free with the purchase of a sun shirt or a pair of shorts. So all you have to do, add that sun shirt or pair of shorts to cart. Also add the Buzzer Rocks Blood Stop formula to cart, and you will see the automatic discount at checkout. Shopping at Fin Fishing is truly the best way to help support the Bass Fishing HQ channel. I greatly appreciate all of you who have done so. All right, let's start with rod and reel combo number 1. Now, real quick, full transparency, as I always am with you guys, all of the rod and reels that I'm going to mention are ARC Rod and Reels. That is a company that I approached a number of years ago and said, hey, I really like your guys' product. Would you want to partner with my channel? And they happily agreed. Now, the most important thing that I'm gonna talk to you about today is the rod length, the power, in the action, as well as maybe some of the gear ratios. And you can apply that same thing to all of the different brands that you fish, whether that's Abu Garcia or Daiwa or whatever it may be. Now, if you wanna pick up the exact rod and reels that I'm talking about, I should let you guys know that down below in the description, if you click on the ARC rod link in there, if you use the coupon code BFHQ, you will get 10% off of anything over on ARC's website. So feel free to take advantage of that, save a little money. Now let's talk about the first rod and reel, which is going to be a spinning rod and reel. I think that every bass fisherman, whether you are just getting started in fishing or if you've been fishing your entire life, needs to have a spinning rod with them. A spinning rod is something that is extremely versatile for us anglers, especially if you are just getting into bass fishing, but also finesse fishing is something that we do more and more and more. It seems like every single year you do more and more finesse fishing. And with that being said, one of the most popular techniques right now is a little jig head minnow. In this particular rod, not only do I use the jig head minnow with, but I use all of my finesse techniques, almost every single one of them, like wacky rigs and Ned rigs and Nico rigs and small little swim baits. I do that all with this spinning rod and reel combo right here. Now the rod specifically, this is a 7-foot, 1-inch rod. I really love that length in a spinning rod. I've used a lot of 6-foot, 6-inch rods in the past. I've used a lot of 7-foot, 6-inch rods as well, but the 7-foot, basically about 7 foot to 7'2", kind of in that zone, is a perfect length, in my opinion, to do a little bit of everything that you want to when it comes to bass fishing. You can get great long casts. You can also make very accurate casts. So this is a 7-foot, 1-inch rod. It is a medium power rod. That is what I have found to be best with almost every single technique out there, even drop shots. Sometimes with a drop shot, I may go down to like a medium light, but I use this rod a ton with drop shots as well. And so it's a great all around. Also the action, this is a fast action rod. So this all together, this specific rod is actually the ARC Cobb series rod. That's called the Kinda Shaky rod. And like I said, whatever brand you want to go with, that length, that power, that action is what is really important. Now, when it comes to the reel, I have used a ton of different sized spinning reels over the years, from a 2000 series, or maybe like some brands will call it a 20 series, up to nearly like a 4000 series or a 40. The one that I have really settled on, I like the reels that are kind of that 2500 to 3000 size. So this one right here is the ARC 3000. It's the GS5 3000. This reel to me has been perfect for everything that I've used as far as a spinning reel. It's a great spinning reel, holds a lot of line. I really enjoy it. Let's move on to rod and reel combo number 2. If you guys know my channel, if you guys have been around, you know that I absolutely love topwater fishing. I throw topwaters wherever I can. I mean, literally throughout the entire year, from the pre-spawn all the way till as late as I can, I like to throw topwater. The thing about a topwater is they tend to catch a lot of fish and they tend to catch big fish. So if there's a topwater bite to be had out there on a lake, I like to throw topwaters. Now this particular rod here, I throw almost every single topwater with this specific rod, except for one, and that's the whopper plopper. And the whopper plopper is just a little bit different of a bait, and we're actually gonna talk about the whopper plopper here in just a minute with another rod. But this rod right here, if I'm throwing spooks, if I'm throwing poppers, if I'm throwing any kind of chugging style baits, prop baits, any type of topwater that is a hard bait with treble hooks, this is the rod that I like. Now again, this rod kind of similar in length as the other one. This is a 7-foot, 2-inch medium power rod. Again, I love that length for rods. It's a perfect in between when it comes to rods. Now this particular rod is a graphite rod. And a lot of times when I use any type of hard bait that has treble hooks on it, I like a very parabolic bending rod. So sometimes I am going to be fishing a lot of composite rods, which are half graphite, half glass. Whenever I use that, I don't like to use composite rods with baits like topwaters and baits like jerk baits, because a composite rod tends to be heavier. Glass weighs heavier than graphite, and so they tend to be a heavier rod. And when you're working a topwater like you do all day long, it can just be a little bit much on your wrist over the course of the day. Now those composite rods are a perfect action for a lot of topwaters, but I like the graphite rod. So this is a graphite rod. This is the Invoker Pro Series rod. Again, 7-foot, 2-inch medium power. And this is actually what they would consider a regular bend. So again, it's a very moderate bending rod. It's a great rod for topwaters. And like I said, I use this thing an absolute ton. Now, me specifically, I like to use 30-pound braid, typically to a 15 to 20-pound monofilament leader. That's what I use a lot when it comes to topwaters, and it's a great rod. It's one that you absolutely have. You could also throw other baits on this. You could throw crankbaits if you wanted. You could also throw jerk baits if you wanted on this rod, but I use this rod a lot. It's absolutely one of my favorites. Let's move on to rod number 3. And this is a very great rod. Again, all of these rods are similar. They are all very versatile rods. You can fish a number of different techniques on them. Now, the rod that I have right here would be considered a crankbait / chatterbait rod. I use this rod specifically for a chatterbait, but you can also throw a ton, basically all of your crankbaits with this rod. This specific rod now is a 7-foot, 4-inch. It is a moderate fast action. It is a medium heavy power. Again, we like the moderate action when it comes to using crankbaits or hard baits with treble hooks. Now, a chatterbait is a little bit different than other baits out there on the market, where I also like to throw chatterbaits on composite rods. It's something that I started doing a number of years ago, and has led me to catching and hooking and landing a lot more fish. I used to use a jig rod with my chatterbaits. I lost a lot of fish on chatterbaits back in the day. I lose very few fish with a chatterbait these days. And again, kind of that same length. This one's a little bit longer, which is nice because again, you can use this rod with really deep diving crankbaits. I mean, your 6XDs of the world, or even bigger crankbaits. You can also use this with square bills, you know, pitching up against the bank. It's just a great all-purpose rod. Now, this rod specifically is the B Hitte rod by ARC. It's in their Tharp series line, guys, and I will leave all this stuff linked down below for you. But I do want you guys to know that this rod can be very difficult to find at times. You will find them sold out often. It's just how popular of a rod it is. And I have a little trick for you guys. This is a $139 rod. This rod right here is an Arc Essence rod. It's a little bit higher end rod. It's a $179 rod. But this blank that I'm holding right here, I'm telling you, I think that it's the exact same blank. I haven't checked that with Arc, but if you put these things side by side, lay them down on the ground, they have the exact same power, action, and everything. And the stats on them, they're the exact same. 7 foot 4 inch, moderate fast action, medium heavy power. They had the same line length. They had the exact same lure weight. And this one is a lot easier to find. Although it is a little bit more expensive, it does come with a full cork handle, which I know that a lot of guys like. Now, these two rods, like I said, great for chatterbaits, great for crankbaits. Also, as you can see right here, this is the rod that I use for my whopper ploppers. A whopper plopper is, again, I like to have a parabolic bending rod. A whopper plopper, you don't necessarily work all the time with your hands, like say, for example, a walking bait or a popper style bait. And so I actually like to have this rod because I can just kind of lock it in place and I can just kind of reel it slowly. And I'm telling you what, when they hit this thing, I don't lose any of them. I truly don't lose a lot of rods, and that's because of the parabolic bending action that these rods have. Now, again, these are composite rods, so they weigh a little bit more than kind of your graphite rods, but that action, I'm telling you, it is what is going to help you to catch a lot more fish. Now, I use a number of reels on these rods, as you can see. This is an Arc Gravity 5 reel. This reel right here is an Arc Gravity 7. And these two reels, I think, are the best casting reels that I've ever used. They're just at kind of two different price points. This Arc Gravity 7 is just a little bit higher end rod, but they both cast extremely well. And the thing that I like about the Gravity 5 is on the side of it, there's a little dial where you can actually, once you put line on this reel, you can actually pop off the side plate and you can actually move that dial to let you know, hey, there's 15-pound test on this, or there's 20-pound test on this. So it's just kind of, to me, when you start to accumulate a lot of rod and reels, it's kind of nice to have that little feature, because now I know exactly how much line or what pound test line is on that rod. And sometimes, honestly, I just forget. I have a ton of rod and reels these days, although these are the 5 that I use the most. And sometimes I just forget. So that's just a cool little feature about the Gravity 5 reel. But that is a great rod in itself. All right, let's move on to the very next rod and reel. This thing gets abused. This rod and reel that I'm holding right here gets absolutely abused. And as you can see, this particular one, all of these rods, you've probably seen from the pictures, they are used. These aren't brand new rods. I've used these things for years and they are great. Now, this rod here is what I'm going to use a lot when it comes to a lot of heavy cover fishing. A lot of times big line fishing as well. So this is an Arc Invoker Pro rod. It is a 7 foot 6 inch medium heavy power and a fast action rod. To me, this rod, I use it a ton for Carolina rigs, Alabama rigs, jigs of all sort, Texas rigs of all sort. This is kind of my all around like flipping and pitching rod. You can also put big line on this. Put 50-pound braid, 60-pound braid. You can use it as a frog rod, especially when you're fishing around mats. You can also flip and pitch with like a 1 ounce weight into heavy cover with this rod. I use this rod a ton. I've also used it a lot for glide baits. I kind of have a designated glide bait rod these days, but this was the rod that I used to fish a lot of glide baits in the beginning when I was really getting used to glide baits. And to me, it's a really good rod, even for glide baits, because although it's labeled as a fast action, it's a little bit more of what I would consider a mod fast. It's a little bit slower than like a true fast action, which is perfect when it comes to glide baits. But you can do a ton of big line, big lure fishing with this rod. and I love it. Now, when it comes to the reel, again, I have a Gravity 5 reel on here. That's the reel that I use probably the most. Typically in the 7 gear ratio is the one that I use, like a 7.1 to 1. I will use the 8.2 to 1s at times, and I will go down to the 6.4 at times. But you can kind of mix and match your reels with the rod in the technique that you are fishing. But that rod right there is a beast. It has been through a lot of abuse and it still just keeps on going. I have like 3 or 4 of them. All right, we're gonna move on to my favorite rod, my absolute favorite rod. This is what I would consider probably the most versatile rod of the bunch. If you guys have been around this channel, you know how much that I love this rod, and it's true. This thing is awesome. This is the ARC Tharp Series Moneymaker rod. It is a 7-foot, 3-inch, fast action, medium heavy power. This is truly a do-it-all style rod. I mean, I can throw jigs on this rod. I can throw Texas rigs on this rod. I use this rod primarily for a frog. I also use it a lot for buzz baits. I've used it for buzz baits in the past, for spinner baits. You can do pretty much everything that you want to. A lot of like offshore techniques like football jigs, big Texas rig worms, big hair jigs. It is a great rod to use for all those techniques. And again, it's in that length, that 7-foot to 7'3" zone that is it's just perfect for a little bit of everything. Now I tend to use a faster reel on this. This is the ARC Gravity 7 8.1 to 1 gear ratio reel on here. I tend to like a little bit faster reel when it comes to this particular rod because of what I'm using it for, but man, that thing has caught me a ton of bass. Now, real quick, I do want to let you guys know that this rod too is the same way as that B-Hitte rod. It can be hard to come by. I do believe they have some on stock right now over at ARC, their actual website, which again, use that coupon code BFHQ and you can get 10% off. But if you guys are looking for a rod that is basically the exact same rod, look at the Essence series, the ARC Essence. They have it's a 7-foot, 3-inch fast action. So that's the same, but this is a mag medium heavy. And guys, again, I'll link it all down below, but this rod, if you compare these things side by side, they are almost identical. And I've been using the mag medium heavy a ton here lately. It's something I like to throw baits like a swim bait on. You can do all the other things that I just talked about with the Moneymaker with that rod, with this rod as well. It's a really good rod and it has a full cork handle. Some guys just like the full cork. Now, the truth is that no matter what type of rod you have, no matter what type of lure that you have, if you are not in the right area, then you are probably not going to be catching a lot of fish. And that's why I came up with the Lake Break series of videos. It's a video literally devoted to helping anglers locate fish, learn how to find fish. I'm gonna leave a playlist right here for all Lake Break series. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I think you'll really like this one, and I will see you guys in the next one.